that amounted to him planning an attack on me and smearing my name, absent any clips, absent any context. And he kind of gives it away in the title of his episode, because Christ really is king.
Candace Owens is back with her very first show ever since being fired from the Daily Wire, and of course this one did not disappoint. She's been going off and dropping absolute nukes on the Daily Wire and Ben Shapiro especially for the last few weeks, ever since her firing and ever since the whole situation went down when Ben Shapiro and Jeremy Boring agreed to a debate with Candace Owens and then backed out, used a gag order to get out of the debate, all that stuff. And now they're trying to, Ben Shapiro in particular is trying to pay people to write smear articles on Candace Owens, as well as a lot of other people like Charlie Kirk and Tucker Carlson and the rest of Ben Shapiro's enemies. And now Candace Owens is finally back with an official show after using Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, Instagram lives and stuff like that to communicate her side of the story. Now she's back with an actual episode. And like I said, it did not disappoint. She addressed all of the stuff, all the rumors, all of the controversy. She addressed it all. And in this particular clip that I'm going to show you, she talks directly about Andrew Klavan, the Daily Wire, Ben Shapiro. Let's just get straight into it. So this title of this video is "Uh-oh, I Got Fired," Candace Show Episode 1 on her Candace Owens YouTube channel. If you're not subscribed over there, make sure you go check out that YouTube channel. I'm sure there's going to be a whole lot more fire coming very soon about this Daily Wire versus Candace Owens situation. Let's get into it.
Is because it rose to a level not just of tremendous dishonor to him as an individual, but also to blatant defamation. Andrew, he just lied. I know, it was just such a weird thing for me to watch. He was lying with such gumption. And I'm going to show you guys how you really can sort of sniff out these sorts of lies in politics in general. And we're going to start by just cutting to Andrew. He, on his second appearance talking about me, because, you know, he really wanted me gone, but also can't stop talking about me, appeared on a show called Cross Politic. And he was explaining my alleged anti-Semitism. Take a listen.
The Daily Wire parted ways with Candace Owens. And part of it was things that she was saying that we felt were strongly anti-Semitic. And she was doing it in such a way that it was kind of hard to pin down. So I was trying to show where these things happen.
Strongly anti-Semitic, but in a way that was difficult to catch. So what we're veering into here now, obviously, is just like Black Lives Matter, giving you definition.
Exactly. 100%. These people, the Daily Wire and just neocons in general, you know, I don't mean to just go out there and start calling out names, but people like Ben Shapiro, people like Andrew Klavan, people like Dave Rubin, all those neocons over in that section over there, they're all the same. They're no different from the hardcore leftists. You know, you disagree with them on one little thing. You disagree, like the Tucker Carlson on Joe Rogan situation. Whereas this thing that had nothing to do with the Daily Wire, nothing to do with Ben Shapiro in particular, Jeremy Boring, and they all took massive offense to the things that he was saying. For number one, because it's coming out of Tucker Carlson's mouth and they can't stand the guy because he challenges a lot of their beliefs and the stuff that they peddle to their audience. But number two, because exactly that. He challenged their beliefs again without doing it directly to them. Just his general statement about the bombing of Japan, they took massive offense to that because it challenges their fundamental beliefs. I don't even think it's actually their beliefs, but the fundamental beliefs that they try to sell to their audience, and that America can basically do nothing wrong. And I'm not saying America is always the bad guy, but I think there's a healthy middle ground. And I think the right and the left are just two sides of the same coin, or they're part of the right, the neocon right, and the left, where the left is thinking America can basically do nothing right, especially in the past. And now the right, the neocon right, the Ben Shapiro's, Dave Rubin's, Daily Wires, those kinds of people, they think America can do nothing wrong, or at least that's what they peddle to their audience. And then you also go over to the way that they combat people who disagree with them, like Candace Owens in the Daily Wire. How did they combat her? Well, number one, they fired her. So they just silenced her voice as much as they could. They write smear articles on her, or pay people to write smear articles on her behind everyone's back, trying to do under the table stuff so that we don't know that they're paying people to do this. And then number three, they call her an istaphobe. You know, the I don't want to say that word too many times, but the anti-word that they love to call her. It's the same thing the left does, except the left does it with like homophobic or sexist or something like that. And everything else is the same. It's just the verbiage that's a little bit different. You know, they would also fire Candace Owens if she said something on one of their shows like that strongly disagreed with her. You know, like if Anna Kasparian really went full right wing, she's getting fired from the Young Turks, dude. 100% she is. And who knows? They probably would write smear articles on her, or pay people to write smear articles on her as well. There's no different. You know, this neocon right, and the hardcore left, the woke left. It's the same thing, dude. Same exact thing.
Definition of racism. It's in a way that only people with expert eyes can see it. Otherwise, he would just throw up a clip and be like, wow, look at this crazy thing Candace said, how anti-Semitic. This guy's really a racist. He's just like dropping N-bombs. Like, obviously, this person is extremely racist. But when you get to this sort of like, it was done in a way, you just know that it doesn't exist. That they're just going to have to make it up. They got to Jussie Smollett it. You know what I mean? You just got to make it up. And guess what? Andrew does just that. He jumps into a Hitler hoax. By the way, let me explain to you what I mean when I say a Hitler hoax. We live in 2024, okay? If somebody ever comes to you and says, like, I don't know, I'm a black person and somebody tied a noose and left it around my neck, that's probably a hoax. It's just people are not tying nooses in 2024, and it just reeks of a hoax. For a Jewish person, Andrew is racially Jewish, if they're trying to sell to you that someone just like jumped up on stage and started being like, yes, I love Hitler, or like, you know, this person was just glorifying Hitler, you're probably being lied to. 99.9% of the time, it's a lie. And they do it because they have built up Adolf Hitler in our school books. They know that we instantly just recoil when we hear, oh my God, this person is supporting Hitler. So Andrew just jumps right into a Hitler hoax. And here,
notice how, once again, same thing the left does, right? Like, there's an actual meme where, you know, we make fun of the left for saying everyone is literally Hitler, you know, or like we literally make fun of the left for saying exactly that, because they'll say anyone is literally Hitler. You know, that's the phrase that they always use, literally Hitler. Like Donald Trump, he's literally Hitler. Like they always say that. And it's funny how the Daily Wire is doing the exact same. I mean, not necessarily calling Candace Owens Hitler, but, you know, also using Hitler to make their point and to kind of distract from the actual conversation and just bring out the emotions like Candace Owens is saying, because it's been built up in you know, schooling and everything like that. As you're growing up, you learn how evil of a person he is. And then when you get older, it just like it invokes that reaction in you where it's like, oh, this person supports this evil person that I've learned about my entire life about how evil they are. They must also be evil. I hate them. They should be fired. You know, it's the same thing that the left does.
is what he says, or at least what he says that I said. Take a listen.
But when you start saying things like some of those books Hitler burned weren't so bad, you know, I was shocked. This is something Candace actually said. I was surprised to learn that the books Hitler was burning, or the Nazis were burning, they weren't good books. They were bad books. They were socialist books.
Andrew, my friend, Andrew, my former colleague, I just don't know how you can do that. Am I broken? Like, I don't have the ability to lie like that. How could you believe that I got on my platform and I was just like, yeah, no, Adolf Hitler, like when he was burning books, it was great. I just thought it would be totally fine for me to do that. Of course, that's not what happened at all. Actually, I wasn't even talking about Adolf Hitler. It was an episode that I was doing on psychology, and I was talking about how a lot of the people that have brought forth modern ideas of psychology were perverts. And I listed 3 Christians among those psychologists. And
which, by the way, I don't want to get too deep into this topic for obvious reasons, but I'm pretty sure, I'm not a historian, but I'm pretty sure that a lot of the books that were burned in that time period by that certain person who I've already said his name way too many times, I'm pretty sure, I don't know this for a fact, I might be talking out my ass here, let me know in the comments, but I'm pretty sure he burned like a lot of transgenderism books and stuff like that. He was trying to like get rid of that kind of stuff out of society, which, yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. But, you know, I don't think that burning books is ever good, obviously. You know, destroying history, it's probably happened a lot throughout our past, just human civilization in general. And we could probably benefit a lot from seeing that stuff, that history that's been lost because of that. So I don't ever think that burning books is a good thing. I'm a free speech person. I think everything should be out there. Obviously, should be protected from certain innocent eyes, I think. You know, like with children, they shouldn't be seeing it. But I don't think any book should be burned. But you could make the argument that if any books are going to be burned, those were probably the correct books, unless I'm wrong about history and I don't actually know what I'm talking about. But I think I do. Let me know in the comments if I do.
The psychologist he's referring to is Magnus Hirschfeld. He happens to be Jewish, but that wasn't important to me. I was just talking about psychology. It was no more important than the Christians I had mentioned on that episode. Didn't need to mention that they were Christian, just the fact that they were perverts. And so what he's doing here is he's actually defending a pervert, Magnus Hirschfeld, by pretending that he is Adolf Hitler and that I said, oh my gosh, it's so great that his books were burned. No, I just introduced a fact, an actual fact that lives on the Holocaust Museum website. It's a fact that Magnus Hirschfeld's Sex Institute was burned to the ground by student protesters. Literal fact from the Holocaust Museum website. And here's what I actually said thereafter. In my view, he's a pervert. Doesn't mean that his library...
If you enjoy content like this, then make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. It really does help me out a ton. Let's get back to the video.
His institute should have been burned down. There's no excuse for burning down an institute. There it is, you guys. Does that sound like someone who's supporting the burning of books in any capacity? No. And that's why he never showed the clip, of course. Am I supposed to believe that he didn't have access to the clips and the statements that I made at the Daily Wire? That he's not subjected to the same fact-checking process that I was subjected to every day that I was at the Daily Wire? That he just couldn't find out what it was that I actually said? Of course he could. He just wanted to lie and he wanted to smear me. And I think that that is awful. I think that's really awful. So what is it that I did that actually upset Andrew Klavan? That was kind of what I do. I've had such a great relationship with this guy. What did I do to deserve this? I would never do this to him or any person. What did I do?
I don't think Candace did anything to Andrew Klavan. I've been saying this for the longest time, and you can see it on the little backstages that the Daily Wire does. The dynamics between those people, it's just weird. You can tell that they all kind of just bow down to Ben Shapiro and even Jeremy Boring a little bit, but especially Andrew Klavan. They bow down in different ways, you know, and I am embarrassed to say how much I've watched that backstage stuff, because I honestly, if I wasn't making these videos, I wouldn't watch that at all, ever. I would never watch a Daily Wire backstage in my life, but I have somebody who sources these clips for me and stuff, and they send me those a lot, and I watch them, and it's just, it's really interesting, the dynamic between them all. The way that it normally goes is Matt Walsh tries to insert his opinions every once in a while, especially on the Middle East stuff, and whenever he gets too close to the sun, he'll get shut down by Ben Shapiro and Jeremy Boring very, very consistently. I've made multiple videos on that. And then we have people like Michael Knowles, who, when those specific topics come up, he's kind of just quiet. He's like, yeah, it's not worth it, dude. I'm going to keep my job, keep making this money. I'm not going to state my true opinions on it, because we all know what Michael Knowles thinks, or probably thinks, of that whole thing that's going on, especially between Candace and the Daily Wire. He probably is taking Candace aside. You know, I think he's a pretty devout Catholic, I think. So he's probably on Candace Owens' side. And then we have Andrew Klavan, who is just up Ben's ass, dude. Like, all the way up it. To where it's just crazy. I've done so many videos on the backstage stuff. If you haven't checked those out, you can go check them out. But he's all the way up Ben's ass. Like, he is just straight up kissing up to Ben Shapiro all the time. So the dynamic is weird. And I think that's what's happening. I think Ben Shapiro and Jeremy Boring are obviously very offended at some of the things that Candace Owens is saying, because when it comes to this issue, they're very, very sensitive. And Andrew Klavan just wants to make it clear to Ben Shapiro, I love making this money. Please never fire me. I love you so much, Ben Shapiro. Here's how much I love you. I'm even going to go against Candace Owens, even though she did nothing to me. Here's how much I love you. Please keep paying me the money that you're paying me. Because his show probably doesn't get very many views, to be honest with you. I never even heard of the guy before this situation. You know, a lot of people are saying, oh, I've been watching Andrew Klavan for years and years and years. Like, dude, I don't even know who the guy is. I only know of him because of this Candace Owens stuff, to be honest with you.
That amounted to him planning an attack on me and smearing my name, absent any clips, absent any context. And he kind of gives it away in the title of his episode, because Christ really is king. And this, honestly, is just where things got a little bit disturbing for me. Andrew, for 5 entire months, had been seething. I mean, unbeknownst to me, never mentioned it to me, never when I saw him, over a tweet that I had sent last November, where I shared a Bible verse. And I ended the Bible verse, here it is, take a look at it, by saying Christ is king. It's just a Bible verse, okay? You will note that nobody is tagged in this verse. This was not a response to any thread. It was a stand.
Also, note that this was not an issue at all. She tweeted out Christ is king, and nobody said a word. Like Candace Owens is saying 5 months ago. I think it's more than 5 months now. But nobody said a word back then. It was totally fine to say Christ is king. All of a sudden, October 7th happens, and it's a problem to say Christ is king. Oh, you can't actually see it on the screen. It's a reply to this tweet that says Christ is king down there. And now all of a sudden, there's a big issue with this. So I think that's also very, very interesting.
Standalone tweet. But remember, Andrew is lying his face off, right? So he says, okay, this is the tweet that upset me. Now I'm just going to pretend that this tweet was delivered in a different way. And here is how he lies again.
The truth that hid wickedness, that I thought was the most wicked truth to use, was the truth that Christ is king. You know, when you spit that phrase at Ben Shapiro,
That she used Christ as king in an argument with Ben Shapiro, where it obviously carried this weight. And so that's why I was addressing it.
So there you have it. No, of course, I did not spit that phrase at a Jew. I just tweeted it all by itself. I did not use that phrase in
Yeah, it's actually ridiculous the way that this guy is trying to assassinate Candace Owens' character. And I want to make this clear as well. I feel like I have to say this over and over again. I'm not the biggest Candace Owens fan in the world. Like you guys, if you've been following my channel for a long time, you know that during the Steven Crowder versus Candace Owens stuff with Steven Crowder's divorce involved, I was taking Steven Crowder's side pretty strongly. I didn't like the way that Candace Owens handled that situation. And we were making fun of Candace Owens. We make fun of everybody. You know, if you're doing something that I don't like, we're going to find a way to make fun of you. That's just how this channel goes. And it's just this situation. I feel like Candace Owens is completely in the right. And I think the Daily Wire is extremely in the wrong. And I think this is a great opportunity to expose poisons that are in this movement, which the Daily Wire is a poison, like straight up. I've been thinking that for a very long time. Not everybody inside of it, but the head of the snake is a poison, I think. I think Jeremy Boring and Ben Shapiro only care about money, and they don't care about actually bettering the world. Like, they just don't. And that's okay. There's nothing inherently wrong with just trying to make money and not caring about the betterment of the world, even though it goes against like the way I think about things. There's nothing inherently wrong with that. It's just so many people buy into the lies that they tell that they are trying to better the world, and they're just not. They're interested in creating revenue, and that's it. Anyway, let me know in the comments what you're thinking about Candace Owens' first episode back. This is obviously just a snippet of her first episode. If you haven't checked out the full thing, make sure you go check that out. I thought it was really good, and I'm sure we're going to see a whole lot more fire from Candace Owens very, very soon on this new YouTube channel. Let me know in the comments what you're thinking about this whole Candace Owens versus the Daily Wire situation.